My wife secretly sold my $9 million farmhouse for just $1 million and called me saying, "I spent all the money on my boyfriend's business. He needed it more than you." I immediately canceled my trip and rushed home. But when I arrived, I couldn't hold my laughter because the farmhouse she sold was actually Chapter 1, the call that should have broken me. I was standing under the shadow of the Eiffel Tower, watching the sunlight glint off its iron bones when my phone buzzed. Unknown number, but I answered. "Hey, babe," came her voice, sugar-coated and detached. I stepped away from the tourists, heart suddenly tight. "Amelia," she sighed dramatically like she was the one burdened. "So, I sold the farmhouse." Silence. "What? It's done, gone, $1 million cash wired into my account this morning." I froze, my legs went weak. The farmhouse, my family legacy, worth at least $9 million even in a bad market, 5 generations of sweat and history, and she sold it like it was an old car she was tired of. Why would you? Because Trevor needed capital. She cut in for his startup. I believe in him. Trevor, her friend, the one she said I was paranoid about, the one who never made eye contact at parties, the one she swore was like a cousin when I caught them texting at 2 a.m. "You just gave him everything," she laughed. Laughed. "He needed it more than you. You're already rich. You'll bounce back." Something snapped in my chest. Not rage, not sorrow. Clarity. "Where are you now?" I asked calmly, at Trevor's. "We're celebrating. You'll find out soon anyway. Just don't come home angry, okay?" She hung up. I stood there, tourists all around me, but I was a ghost, not broken, awake. And as I turned to the Parisian skyline, I made one silent vow. She has no idea what she just sold, because the farmhouse she legally sold wasn't even mine to lose. Chapter 2. The house that wasn't hers. I landed in Texas the next morning, didn't call her, didn't message, didn't even let the wheels of the plane stop turning before I opened my laptop and began the audit. Here's what Amelia never understood. I may have built my wealth quietly, a few startup investments here, a couple real estate flips, but the farmhouse, that wasn't a shared marital asset. It was in a trust, my grandfather's trust, passed to me under strict conditions. The deed was protected by layered legal structuring and LLC masking. She never bothered reading the paperwork. Hell, she never asked. She just assumed because we lived there, or because I'd let her host her charity events in the Rose Garden and keep her wine cellar in the back wing, that it was ours. So, when she forged my signature and sold it to an eager, desperate buyer who didn't do their due diligence, she didn't just commit fraud, she triggered a clause. See, my grandfather's trust had a backup trigger. If the property is transferred fraudulently, illegally, or without rightful consent of the current title holder, all associated accounts and partner-controlled assets are to be frozen pending investigation. In simple terms, I could freeze every single joint account with her name on it instantly, and I did. While she was out celebrating Trevor's new business empire, I was on the phone with my legal team and private banker, locked down the lines, trust clause override, full financial hold on Amelia Kensington, effective immediately. They didn't ask why, they knew. They'd seen this clause written in blood years ago by a man who had survived 2 divorces, a Ponzi scheme, and 1 political scandal. By noon, the celebratory funds she had transferred to Trevor's business account returned, flagged, blocked. She had a glass of champagne in her hand, thinking she was building an empire, and didn't realize the ground beneath her was already crumbling. That night, I pulled up to the farmhouse gate, still mine legally, and just stared. She had no idea. But in 48 hours, everyone would. Chapter 3. The celebration that turned to screams. Trevor thought he was a genius. The man strutted like a rooster through the marble-floored banquet hall of the downtown Austin hotel, grinning at Amelia like she'd just handed him the keys to Rome. It was their launch party, champagne, Instagram influencers, live jazz, and projected graphs about a luxury real estate startup, all funded by what they thought was $1 million in dirty profit from the house she stole. But what Trevor didn't know, the funds had already bounced back, the investor account they were showing off frozen, his seed money presentation to venture capitalists empty, and the buyers who thought they owned my farmhouse served with a cease and desist just hours ago. I didn't crash the party. I didn't need to. Because just as Amelia stood up on the stage to toast her bold leap into the future, a hotel staffer walked briskly onto the stage, whispering something into her ear. She paused, her smile faltered, then, all at once, her phone lit up. One message, then 10, then 20, bank notifications, declines, fraud alerts, a flagged email from the title registrar, a legal notice from my lawyers. Her hands started to shake. Trevor leaned in, whispering, "What's going on?" She didn't answer, she just dropped the glass of champagne. It shattered. Then came the call from the bank on speaker. Due to an emergency override triggered by Trust Protocol 14B, all associated funds have been locked. Pending fraud investigation, please advise your legal counsel not to attempt further transfers. This is final silence. You could hear the breath leave the room. Trevor's jaw clenched, his phone buzzed. Next, the email titled, "Funds Reversed, Partnership Nullified," and just like that, his empire built on sand. He turned to Amelia, eyes wide. "What did you do?" Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. Meanwhile, I sat across the street, window rolled down, watching the glittering celebration implode. A quiet kind of satisfaction, not rage, not gloating, justice. Chapter 4. The Legal Guillotine. 2 days after the party collapsed, Amelia was served formally this time. Not with a warning, not with a lecture, but with a lawsuit, fraud, forgery, violation of federal wire transfer laws, breach of fiduciary responsibility, attempted misappropriation of generational assets, and attached to it all, a criminal referral. I didn't need to press charges personally. The trust did it for me. That's the beauty of long-term legacy planning. Revenge isn't just emotional, it's institutional. She thought it was just a marital spat. She didn't realize she'd tried to rob an entity older than our marriage. In court, it was brutal. The judge wasn't amused by her. I didn't know defense, especially when we played the audio recording of the phone call she made to Trevor. He never looks at the deed paperwork. I'll sign it, move the money fast. And by the time he lands, we'll be in Madrid. He's a figure-it-out-later kind of guy. Total pushover. The courtroom laughed, the judge did not. Amelia's attorney tried to argue she was emotionally manipulated into bad decisions by her new partner. But Trevor had already jumped ship, ghosted her, deleted his socials, and left the country 2 days earlier. When the prosecution played footage of him boarding a private jet alone with 2 suitcases and no return flight booked, Amelia's face crumbled. Then came the ruling. The property transfer nullified, Trevor's investment seized, Amelia's accounts liquidated to pay legal fees and penalties, her passport surrendered, her real estate brand dissolved by court order. The judge paused before concluding, "This is not a case of a woman seeking independence. This is a case of calculated fraud against a man who showed nothing but trust. This court rules in favor of the plaintiff." Then he turned to her, "You didn't just lose a house, ma'am. You lost your mask." Outside the courthouse, a reporter asked if I felt vindicated. I just said she sold something that didn't belong to her, and she lost everything that did. Chapter 5. The Final Lock. 6 months later, I stood in the driveway of my farmhouse. The real one. Not the guest house she tried to sell. Not the old West F-facing barn, but the main house. The crown jewel of the 120-acre estate my grandfather built with his bare hands. The house Amelia never really understood. To her, it was old money. To me, it was legacy, where my father taught me how to plant corn, where my mother served hot cider in winter, where my dog was buried under the oak by the fence line. Now the gates had a new lock, one she could never break again. The final legal dust had settled. Amelia had accepted the settlement, or what was left of it. No jail time but bankruptcy. No travel ban but a destroyed reputation. No love story with Trevor. He was now hiding in buys after his startup collapsed from federal scrutiny. She tried texting me once more. I didn't mean to lose everything. Can we talk? I didn't reply. Instead, I walked through my home, barefoot, no suit, no lawyers, no tension. Just hardwood floors and silence. In the study, I placed the final piece of this long journey, a framed photo, Amelia and Trevor smiling at their launch party, right next to the court document declaring the sale void. Below it, a brass plate built on lies erased by truth. Outside, I watched the sun rise. The farmhouse glowed golden. No noise, no lies, just peace. I wasn't angry anymore, not heartbroken, not victorious, just free. I locked the door behind me, the final lock, and drove off to meet my architect. It was time to break ground on something new, something untouched by betrayal, a new farmhouse, a new legacy, this time built not just on land, but on wisdom. Epilogue. She sold the wrong thing. People always assume revenge ends in courtrooms, screaming matches, or empty bank accounts. But real revenge, it ends in silence, in the quiet moments after the fire, when you realize you didn't just win, you escaped. Amelia thought she sold a farmhouse. What she really gave away was her last chance at decency, her final bridge back to someone who once would have done anything for her. She didn't just sell a property. She auctioned off trust, respect, and family for a man who disappeared when the cash dried up. That's the thing about betrayal. It's loud at first, then dead quiet. Now, I don't check her messages. I don't replay what she said. I don't care who she becomes because I already know who I am. And the biggest plot twist? She never understood what the farmhouse was really worth, not in dollars, but in roots. And while she keeps searching for her next lifeline, I'm building a new one, brick by honest brick. Was this revenge perfectly justified? Or should the storm have raged harder? Drop your verdict below. I read every single one. Hit like if you crave justice, and share this story with someone who needs its fire. Subscribe to Lauren's story, and because here, betrayals don't sleep, they hunt their owners. Every shadow hides a reckoning. Every mask breaks, and every betrayal is answered. Stay sharp, stay unbroken, stay tuned.